All right, you astrology fans and students. So today is January 6th, 2021, and it is 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I've just finished working two different gigs, and I've just gotten off the road. So I was driving while I was listening to the news reports about the party down on Capitol Hill this afternoon. So uh, I will share with you that, like yourself, I'm sure you're probably feeling the same way. I was really struggling watching this and having a lot of concern and distress. And my anxiety levels were through the ceiling. Jesus God. And I look like crap because it's literally been a long day. And I'm too tired to even deal with the lighting right now. So now the difference between you and I and other people, right, is that we have access to some basic understanding of the cosmograms of the sky, right? So we have some access to divine blueprints, as it were, whereas, normal people don't. Now, the other thing that you may not be thinking about is the other thing that makes us different from other people is that many of us use astrology as a form of anxiety management, right? So being able to predict the future, even hazarding guesses at the future with tarot cards and crystal balls and all sort of stuff, or going to see psychics. What that does, it takes some of the uncertainty out of the future. And anxiety has a lot to do with uncertainty and fear of what potentials and possibilities there are, right? So when we can remove some of that, we can allay and calm down some of that anxiety. This is typically what draws a lot of us to the metaphysics, this wanting to get rid of uncertainty about the future, and keeps us here. And so it's okay if you struggle with anxiety. It took me my entire adult life to figure out that this is pretty much what a majority of my need for this was anxiety management. So I don't like unpredictable people, and I don't like uncertain futures. All right, so with that said, as I'm driving around doing this thing and I'm working on a gig, and thank God I was actually in motion. I was able to kind of manage this by doing something while I was watching it. I don't know what I would have done if I had to been home stationary with nothing to do, just nothing but idle, watching this on television. And it dawned on me, it's like, oh, wait, let's look at the astrology chart, because certainly I did not call January 6th. So there's a part of me that's like, oh, wait, should I have known that? And there's the other part of me that's like, wait, what are the aspects? Where are the planets? Oh, right. So here's what I want to give you, and this might help make you feel a little bit better, right? So today, when all this brouhaha started down in DC, it occurred with Mars, which is was still in its sign of rulership in Aries at the last degree, 29 degrees, and with only a few scant minutes before it changed signs. So this whole performance, and this is exactly what this was. It was a giant freaking performance, occurred with Mars in its most powerful placement, its natural sign of Aries, which is going to make it that urge and desire to dominate, right? Mars in Aries, it is the sign of that planet of the warrior, much more pronounced. Because it's in the final degree, not degrees, degree and minutes of its sign, it's literally like the final braying cries of a dinosaur facing its extinction. So this was literally intended to be a big chest beating kind of Planet of the Apes sort of thing. And if you watch the videos, it actually kind of looked like Planet of the Apes, or like a zombie apocalypse, right? So there's that. Now the other thing is, a couple things I just want to mention, and you can take it for what it's worth to you, right? But the first thing is, I would say, looking at that and looking at the aspects for today, one, this was a performance. Two, it was extremely orchestrated, which means it was organized, which means it was planned, and the timing was perfect, right? So this was an intended orchestrated performance, and there are a lot of people higher up that were probably involved in this, because this is what some people have sunk to in the Republican Party. And also, in case you weren't aware, Rebecca Mercer, and you might want to look her name up. Rebecca Mercer, Rebekah Mercer, who is the daughter of a very wealthy man, and I don't remember what her father's name is. But they both are ultra conservative, and they back a lot of these weirdo, hyper conservative, anti freedoms, like very hyper evangelical groups and political PACs and all that sort of stuff. They're a dangerous, dangerous, dangerous family because they've got very regressive ideas that are not intended to serve anybody but themselves. She's a peach. Oh, she's a peach. All the money in the world, she still won't get plastic surgery. Guess money makes you beautiful. Anyway, so also, because you probably don't know this, but it's easy to find the information. This is not conspiracy theory, quacko nonsense. It's real. Rebecca Mercer is also one of the primary financiers, financial support sources for Parler, that racist version of, and conspiracy theory version of Facebook that's floating around. That's probably where all these people organized. So, the old saying, follow the money, follow the money, follow the money, right? So there's that. The other thing is, there's this, and here's what's interesting. As an astrologer, I want you to think about this for a second. So when we look at the events today, the first thing we're thinking is, okay, what is it doing in Trump's chart? Where is it in Trump's chart, right? And you're not going to see it in Trump's chart. You might see Mars trining his Mars, all right, which is going to make, for a mostly lazy day. Not a whole lot gets done during those times. And Venus trining his Mars, which is going to give him a lot of support and feeling very good and loved, which clearly he did. Of course, he's being, loved and adored by psychopaths, but that's a whole other conversation, right? But this event, consider this for a moment. This event was really not about him. This event was very much about Congress and the Constitution and the United States government. So this whole chicanery and, Planet of the Apes, zombie apocalypse, the purge behavior that was going on, that was orchestrated, organized, and pre-planned, right out, all of it, right down to probably giving these people directions on where to go, where the vulnerable points in the buildings are, right? This was no accident. This was every step it was by design, right down to the timing of when this happened, and he decided to set them free. All of this was not about him. This was very much about the government and Congress and intimidating the Congress members and intimidating the public, the general public, and making it a big noise, roar, like a bully, because they're all just a bunch of bullies, right? That's what all this is about. So it wasn't about Trump. So with that said, you may not find a lot of, big, hard, exciting aspects to his chart. I'm not saying this to justify me not seeing it. I'm saying this because these are things we have to consider when we look at world events, right? Because they're much more complicated than just, that person, this celebrity, and the transits to their chart. So look at the events today. And if you are looking at the transits for today, when this event occurred, put those transits and events against the USA chart or the Constitution chart. There are links in the other video that we did for the 23 Sag eclipse and January 3rd, that phone call. So there's that. So, and here's the part I want to give you to make you feel a little bit better, right? So the first thing, this was a performance. It was organized. It was orchestrated. Everything was pre-planned. There was nothing accidental or wilding about it. They were, oh my God, the only thing that didn't happen was literally a man in a suit, with a marching cane, like they have the funerals in New Orleans, right? Leading them in, right? And telling them where to go. That was the only thing missing, with little maps. Here's your directions. Because Mars is at the last degree in the final minutes of the sign, there was not a lot of stamina behind this. This was not going to go on. This was not going to be like an all-day siege, which is the only thing that gave me comfort while I was driving around the night watching this. And that's exactly what happened. It all just petered out, as quickly as it started. So now what happens now is, of course, Mars moves into Taurus, and it's very close to that Uranus, and it's squaring that Jupiter Saturn. So you may be thinking to yourself, whoa, but wait, Mars, Taurus, Uranus, explosions, Jupiter, Saturn, Aquarius, right? And we have every reason to be concerned, but not necessarily for the same things we're thinking. So here's what I would say with that. With Mars and Uranus coming together in Taurus, we can expect actually some groundswell, and specifically some things that have to do with either the market fluctuations in the economy and or actual physical land mass changes. So weather, earth shifting, earthquakes, or, volcanoes, sudden storms, something like that we can look forward to. And Mars gets down a little bit closer to that Uranus and squares a little bit closer to that Jupiter Saturn. So we may see some extreme, abrupt, and unexpected, like hand of God kind of weather or natural phenomenon occurring. Now, in terms of this rebellion, we went through similar things back in the 80s, I think it was, with the Tea Party. So all of these people now are literally just a long, slow, retarded evolution of stuff that's been going on since the 80s. I'm pretty sure it was the Tea Party, which has evolved and dissolved and changed names and changed members, but it's all the same anti-government crap, right? Sorry, folks, your skilled labor jobs are not paying back. Jupiter and Saturn have moved into Aquarius. We are going to robotics. So anybody who doesn't have any kind of science, tech, engineering, or math training or education, you're going to get left behind. There's nothing we can do, because you're not going to work for the wages that the Mexicans work for, because the economy here is not that bad yet, that, 40 cents an hour is a big deal. You're not that poor yet, so you won't be working that cheap. You can't compete with them. China does everything cheaper, better, and more efficient, right? And they've built their economy up enough that they can get rid of all the garbage, low-level work, right? And move on to more high-tech, better-paying stuff, more clean jobs, right? So unless you can work for cheaper than China has, and remember, a lot of your stuff you get from Walmart, it's coming from China and Mexico, you probably won't be working for those wages either. So those jobs you were thinking that you used to have, they're not coming back. And it's not because no one loves you. It's because this is how things are going. So brush up on your math skills. All right. So with that said, Mars and Uranus coming together, squaring that Jupiter, Saturn, and Aquarius also means, because remember, Aquarius is the people, the random collection of humanity, all of us, not the tight little homogenous island of Taurus where everybody looks alike and they're all from the same island with each other and they're all from the same tribe, the McConnell family. Oh my God, we're going to do his chart too. But Aquarius, the breadth, depth, expanse, and wide variety of humanity. That's where Jupiter and Saturn is. And it will be squaring off with Mars and Uranus. Well, guess which one of us has the upper hand? Jupiter and Saturn Aquarius. So we apparently need this experience to go through to really drive home and define, where the boundaries are, between this, that, or the other, between ourselves and whatever in the past and the future. We clearly need to go through these experiences, as unfortunate as they are. But don't panic. We're going to get through this, and we're going to get through this together. Jupiter and Saturn is the mass, the steaming, tumbling, multicolored, multicultural, multiracial mass of humanity. And it's the future, and it's progress, and it's evolution. And that is what's going to be squaring Mars and Uranus. Mars is weak in Taurus, does not like being in Taurus. Mars is a fast go-get-'em sign. Taurus is plodding and very slow. Mars does not like being in Taurus. Uranus is not very comfortable there either. So they're both Mars and Uranus together are in a position that doesn't make them very happy and certainly doesn't let them work from their strengths. Saturn is in its ancient rulership of Aquarius. So it's going to be okay. So we're going to be okay. All right. Don't let today startle you too much. As I drink my wine. But don't let it startle you too much. Listen, it's going to be a bumpy ride. We know this. We've got still a couple more weeks to go. And we know that with the astrological patterns, we've got to get past the 14th. The inauguration in the U.S. is not until the 20th, but it's the 14th. It's the last big, hot button day. If we can get past that, we're going to be all right. And who knows, Bunker Boy may be carried out in a straitjacket by then. We don't know. So we just have a little while to get through. We're going to be okay. Now, here's what I want you guys to be mindful of, right? So one of the things, and don't get weird on me, right? So this is your trigger warning. We're talking about race. One of the things that I hear a lot is typically always and consistently from white people. I don't know what the hell that is about. I'm just saying this is my experience and observation. I never hear this from Asians, Blacks, Indians, Inuits, Native Americans. I don't hear this from anybody but white people. And that's this business of, oh, Civil War, revolution, oh, rioting in the streets. I don't, maybe this is like some kind of like fetish you guys have, like because you want this to happen, right? Clearly they, started acting on it today. So here's the thing, right? Moving forward, because this is part of a anxiety or deep fear or deep wish fulfillment in white culture, especially here in the US. And this bullying behavior seems to be very consistent with all the Trump supporters. Might makes right, just a bunch of bullies. So what you may find over the next couple of weeks is not that these people are going to go running the streets with guns, shooting people down. Although I will say, if you, like myself, are a person of color, you still need to be but I don't have to tell you this, just very, very mindful of who you're dealing with. But this is to say that all of these whipped up, ramped up, retarded MAGA Trump supporters, like, oh yeah, the election was stolen, right? Anybody stupid enough to believe that is stupid enough to be dangerous. These people are going to be very empowered or feeling very empowered over the next couple of weeks, especially after today, and none of these people getting arrested. Or shot or beaten or anything that typically happens in any other protest when people are being peaceful, and not doing stuff like this. So the people, if you are Caucasian, the people, and you live in the US, the people who look like you are the people you're going to worry about. Because they're not going to take kindly to race traitors. And I'm sure you've heard this expression before, right? Race traitors. And who decides who's a race traitor? They do, right? So please, whatever you do, like, it's important that we stand up for things, but it's also important that we do, the conflict management, right? We try to just try to keep the damage control. Try to keep damage control as much as we can. So be aware of who you're dealing with, and listen, you don't need me to tell you, who your friends and family are that are like that. You know who those hateful little hearts are, right? So don't put yourself up to be a target. Stand up for people when and where you can, obviously, because they need to know that this is wrong. But at the same time, don't take for granted that you won't be a target, because they're just feeling themselves these days, clearly, right? And all kinds of like, well, I'm not going to get arrested, because they obviously aren't, at least not right away. So today was quite the performance. We're all paying attention now, and I don't know what this guy's deal is. Like, is he trying to? Sometimes I feel like he's trying to self-sabotage, or like the goddess is working through him and like manipulating his little oatmeal mind, right? Getting him to do stuff that's completely self-destructive, or to himself in the party. I don't know. I don't know what that's about. But at the same time, what we do know about him is that he's a lot like a magnet with iron filings. So if anybody has the capacity to sink to their lowest common denominator, right, in terms of greed or selfishness or self-serving, thinking and behavior, like, they all gravitate to him and just latch on like little iron filings on a magnet, right? So he's, in a lot of ways, he is the Pied Piper leading the rats out into the ocean. Okay. And this is what we're watching. It's pretty impressive. You couldn't write this stuff. As a writer, you couldn't make this stuff up. So take a deep breath, my friends. Take a deep breath. Today was a one-off. We're not likely to see this again. No, this isn't to say that we won't see other things that are infinitely more destructive, like Nashville. But that was a single person. Well, not really. That was a couple of people. But for now, be aware of the people around you at ground level, your friends and your peers. You know which ones are the problem ones. And understand that being a race traitor is the next, buzzword in their vocabulary that they'll be using. And certainly probably using it with you if you're not, in lockstep stormtrooper formation with them. And we're going to get through this. We've just got to get past the 14th. We've just got to get past 14th. So if you're learning astrology, look up the US charts. You can certainly look up Trump's chart as well, and compare it to the transits for today. But definitely look at the US charts and the Constitution charts and see what comes up then. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye.